this is the way your swaddle should be looking. Then we're going to open this up and we're going to start at this corner. Come up from the bottom where your needle's coming up through and pull all the thread up, but leave a little tail. We're going to leave a tail about 2 to 3 inches long, and we're going to just go up this side. So every stitch you're going to come up through the bottom and make sure your string is around your needle, but don't lose your tail. So I'm pinching that tail in my fingers. And we're going to pull that yarn through, and you want to get it pulled snug but not tight. You don't want this part to scrunch up in there. That's going to look odd at first. Don't worry about it. It will end up right as we finish. So up through, fighting with the wind, making sure that you're going under that yarn. My tail is still over here. I'm going to pull out all that through. And that's your first stitch. Tail is still over here. Okay, so I'm going to go up through, yarn around the needle, pull the yarn through. Up through, yarn around the needle, pull the yarn through. Up through, yarn around the needle, pull the needle through. Just continue that all the way around till you get to the other corner of your swaddle. So as you get close to the corner, and you're still coming up through and putting that around your needle, pull it through slowly. I'm kind of holding my blanket material so I don't stretch that hole out too much, and just pull it where it's snug but not too tight. Now we got this one last hole, so we want to arrange our blanket. So we're going to turn it over where that one's going to end up on the inside. So we want to adjust how it's laying. So this first corner is our inside corner, and the one we're currently working on will be over here, like so. So now we're going to come up through all of these holes. So same stitch, we're just coming up through the bottom, making sure we're catching all of those layers. So needle is through all the layers. You come up through, putting the thread around, putting the yarn around the needle and pulling it up gently till we get all that up there without it knotting up on us. Now we've got our first stitch of our corner. Going to do that same thing again, same hole, up through, yarn around the needle, pull it snug, so this time you want to just position it with your fingers. You want that stitch to come off the corner. So just kind of adjust as you go so that that stitch is coming off the corner. We're going to go back through that same hole one more time. Yarn around the needle and pull up again. And just lightly tug, adjust so that you have that little curved area around the needle there. Now you're just going to proceed to the next hole, working your needle through all 3 layers through the holes. Yarn around the needle and pull it up. Continue in that fashion. Let me adjust if your tail gets too close, you just adjust the needle thread so that it pulls that tail away. We're going to keep coming from the back to the front through those holes. Yarn around the needle, pull it up. I went through the needle wrong. You see how it's twisting around? It's going to come through the wrong way. So I needed to come through the needle, wrap it around the needle the other way. I'll show you one more stitch here to clarify that. Up through all the layers. You got the needle yarn and you got the other yarn that goes around the needle, from pulling from the back around the front of the needle. Then it'll lay the way it needs to. Okay, we're coming into the last corner. I forgot to catch my thread. So if you do that, you got it like this. So you want that to come from the back around the front of your needle. And then start pulling the needle yarn through. You don't want to catch the tail as we're getting close. In fact, what we want to do, you can see that we have that tail coming out between these 2 layers. Let's bring that around to where it's in front of this middle part. Tug it just a little bit and tuck it up in between the top layer and the middle layer and get it up out of your way. But make sure that middle layer lays back down because you're going to have to get to that hole. So now I have it inside. It's wrapped around to the front of that middle layer so that it's down up in there. I'll show you why when we get there. But that gets it out of my way so I can do these last stitches here. So we're still coming up from the back. Wrap your yarn around from the back to the front and pull up. Now we're doing our corner stitch, just like we did the other corner stitch. From the back, wrap the yarn around from the back to the front, pull that up, just like your other stitches. Now back through that same hole, back to front, yarn from the back around the front, pull that up, and we want this stitch, slow down as you're pulling it now because you want to make this stitch come off that corner as you tighten it up. So now we've got an angled stitch. I'm going to go through that hole one more time, up from the back, wrap your yarn from back here around front of the needle, pull it all through, snug it down, and just adjust with your fingers. Now you have the corner stitch finished. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go, your needle's coming from the back here, it's under this stitch. So what we need to do is come back from the front this time on this last stitch into this hole, but we don't want to go all the way through. We're just going to go through the very top layer and reach inside and find your needle right there. And so we're going to pull all that thread up through here so that tightens in right in line with that last stitch that you did. Okay, so now you've got it. The outside looks like that, and our stitch is now inside with the tail. So we're going to gently kind of turn this up inside out. So we've got that tail that we started with and our ending thread. Now we're going to tie a knot in those to secure it. So I just tie basically a square knot, snug it down. That's the first half of it. Then we're going to do the other half of the square knot, snug it down on there. Once you have that, then you're going to want either some of the fray check or just some white glue will do, and just put a drop right on that knot. That's going to glue that all together so it locks that knot in, and now you can trim these threads off fairly close to the knot so there's no tails inside of your swaddle, and turn it back out to the front. And if the thread has, if pulling that around has made your corner look odd, then you can just kind of with your fingers straighten those stitches out. And now it's ready for a baby doll.